Are you kidding me? Good afternoon, everybody. Have a story today I haven't come across too often, and I wanted to share it with you. Let's get to it right now, and we'll just read through it. So that vacant $700,000 Fox Chapel home wasn't quite as empty as it's supposed to be. So this is from the Pittsburgh Post Gazette, and I'll leave a link to the article in the description. But I just wanted to go over it because it touches on some things that are kind of fascinating to me. So just to start, it says the lockbox containing the house key was missing from the front door of a Fox Chapel home when a real estate agent tried to inspect the property for a client under contract to buy it. That was the first sign of trouble. So it turned out somebody had moved into the $700,000 four-bedroom home while it sat vacant for years in foreclosure limbo. By the time the listing agent went to investigate the report about the missing lockbox, the for sale signs had been replaced with no trespassing signs. So just imagine you're the listing agent, and you haven't been in the house in a while because it's been in foreclosure, and you go to the house and the lockbox is gone, and the for sale signs say no trespassing. The agent said, "When I looked through the window and saw the furniture in the house, I got out of there fast." And that was smart. Because like we're real estate agents, and we're sort of trained to help people buy or sell property. If it's a vacant house and there's a bunch of stuff in it and there's no real reason for it, that would be that's just not it's not our department. We're not the police or anything else. So it says in the article, it says, over the next month, a picture would emerge of an empty property taken over by an unauthorized occupant who moved in, filled it with furniture, and then filed paperwork to have the home transferred to his corporation. So I have heard of, you have squatters, you have people that live in houses that aren't theirs. That's no big deal. It doesn't normally seem to happen in the higher priced properties. But what's fascinating to me is that the fellow filed paperwork to have the home transferred into his corporation. And this is how it happened. It said on Saturday morning, Fox Chapel arrested this fellow when he showed up at the police department in order to report the break-in and theft of his property at the Riding Meadows Road home. So he has moved in. He's brought his stuff with him. He has decided that he owns the property, and he has filed paperwork to have the home transferred to his corporation. When the listing agent went to see what's going on with the property, to check in on the property, she noticed there were people there. That seemed that people were living there, but she didn't say anything. Apparently she didn't go to the police. The police actually arrested the fellow when he went to the police department to report the break-in and theft at the property he believed he owned. He was charged with 2 counts of felony criminal trespassing. So charged, not convicted. So anyway, and this is, to me, this is the story of, modern day misery in a neighborhood. So it says the house on Riding Meadow Road had been empty when the agent listed it for sale in February 2020 for $1 million. The management company that was selling the home dropped the asking price to $700,000 or $699,900 in April of 2021. So the property went under sales contract on May 28th. So February 2020 till say July, it had just been sitting vacant. And then it says on Friday afternoon, it says Fox Chapel police went to the 2-story Colonial. They forced their way inside when no one answered the door. Officers confiscated several high-capacity magazines loaded with live ammunition. They also confiscated a mount piece for a semi-automatic firearm and 2 large knives. So then, not only is the fellow living in the house, but he's got a bunch of guns, which, it's just dangerous for this poor listing agent that would go over there and see this sort of thing. It says furniture taken, and then it's like, well, what do? you're listed a house for basically you're listing a house for a third party. They're not even in the state, and you call them and you say, hey, by the way, there's a fellow living in the house, and he's filed paperwork to say it's his house. Not only that, the house has a bunch of guns and whatnot. So here's where it gets interesting. It says furniture taken from the 4,600 square foot house was moved to a storage facility. Police found food in the refrigerator and furniture in practically every room, including 2 beds. The house was also decorated with several plants, and a telescope was set up in one room. So now the guy has his furniture in there. They take the furniture and they put it to a storage facility. Now, maybe it wasn't his furniture. I don't know. So in the court filing, the fellow declared himself the owner by virtue of inheritance under the laws of equity as an Aboriginal Indigenous American. So he believes that it goes on here. It says, at some point, according to his social media posts and court filings, he took on the beliefs of a group that believes they have the authority to detach themselves from the United States. The religious movement he later joined after changing his name, Moorish Sovereigns, has made headlines for clashing with state and federal authorities due to their insistence that laws and government rules do not pertain to them. Their doctrine teaches that African Americans are an elite class in America with unique rights that transcend government authority. So this fellow believes that he's not beholden to the laws of the United States, and he's just going to go ahead and move into this house, and it's his. The odd thing is that like he claimed it. He was looking for a deed for the house. That's kind of interesting. I mean, why bother? Why bother if you don't believe in the laws anyway? That's where it gets weird. But anyway, because the home was large and an expensive asset, the bank chose to keep the utilities running as it sat vacant for an extended period of time. So definitely, if you do, even when vacant homes are on the market, and it's a short amount of time, they still seem to go into disrepair much faster than if somebody lived in a home. So leaving the water on in a vacant home is a dicey proposition, because if the pipes freeze, the house is toast. I mean, and the pipe bursts, the house is toast. So you are running that risk. Anyway, it says county records show that the fellow's been actively trying to gain control of the 5-acre property since as early as June 3rd under the name Prince Akin Kamori El Akando. He filed paperwork asking the Allegheny County Department of Real Estate to record his company, Otto Chans of Pennsylvania Trust, as the grantee on the warranty deed for the Fox Chapel home. Then it says at the end, it says, police said when authorities entered the house, there was a Honda SUV parked inside the 3-car garage with a legal registration. And the car was outfitted with a fictitious homemade license plate of AOPTR 1444 with the term private use on the lower center and Otto Chans of Pennsylvania Board of Trustees displayed on the bottom of the plate. So isn't that nice? He made his own license plate. I think the general public believes that, real estate is all about, finding buyers and sellers and working to get deals done. But there's a lot of ancillary stuff that goes into the job. So whenever you're listing a house, you kind of have to make sure the house is okay. So when I list a house, say, I'll go over there at least minimum every couple of days just to make sure everything's all right. And then if it's a listing where it's vacant, I'll go over more often, and I will make sure that, lights are off after showings, doors are locked up, house is clean. You'd be surprised, 20 people walking through a house, how dirty it can get, especially if it happens to rain outside during the showings. That can tend to be bad. But then you deal, that's normal. But then when you have to deal with squatters, a lot of people do broker price opinions, or they used to, where they'd pay you a flat fee to go out and put a price on a house. And you never know who's in a house. I know when I represent buyers and we go to houses, whenever the owner is there, it's kind of weird. The seller, that's always a weird deal. But in this case, this agent goes and sees a bunch of stuff in the house that's not supposed to be there. I guess calls the police, Doesn't have to worry about it though, because the fellow gets arrested after reporting that his house has been broken into. And so I would just ask you, like, do you think that the laws that we wrote or that were written ever would have thought some fellow would have just decided that the house was his and he's just going to take it over, and then use the police to say, no, it's not, use the police to say that that the house has been broken into, and it's just amazing to me. So that's all I have. Having read that story, now I know what to do if I ever go into one of my houses that's unoccupied and someone has taken up residence there. I will have to call the police. But has anything ever happened to you like that? I don't know. Leave me a comment. Leave me a like. Subscribe. Whatever you'd like to do. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.